Well, there's a few things. I
Oh,
mean,
there are, yeah, but I want.
there are a few
It
things.
was,
It would depend on the killer, you know.
yeah, yeah,
But it would depend on the killer's proclivities. Like, um, sometimes it really isn't about the crime itself. It's more about proving someone actually did that. That's sometimes
yeah.
that's sometimes the real challenge when you do something like that. Um, you got
It's
to
good. I mean, if you've got someone that is reasonably healthy
mhm.
and they die unexpectedly, and the autopsy doesn't show anything. There's no physical injuries. There's no traceable toxins. Why are they dead? Right?
It's an interesting start. Like I can think of a couple. Like I know things. So I will, we won't go in there. If I wanted to be a criminal, I'd be, anyway,
Uh huh.
I digress.
Yeah.
Um, um, but it's one of those things where just like this, I always tend to feel like when you come up with someone who's doing something, like sometimes it's a lot to do with the character's personality, and also
Yeah.
sometimes and psychologically speaking, sometimes killers just want to be caught, and right, and sometimes their own personality kind of gives away what they do, how they do. It's again going back to something I said earlier. It's kind of like a game.
It is. Yeah. Yeah.
It's kind of like a game. So
It
that
is.
that yeah. So when you are through this writing these three books, and when you go back to
Mm-hmm.
whatever else, are you going to keep this like whatever method you came up with here? Are you going to keep it, or will it expand and grow and do other things?
Like I said before, I just go with the stories. Funnily enough, a while back I wrote a small novella, and it was set in medieval England. It was following a troubadour, a storyteller, and I published it, and I was happy with that. But then I got so many people saying, "Where's the next one?" I hadn't planned to do a next one, but after a while, I'm thinking, okay, so many people ask me, I thought I have to do another one. So then I'm thinking, how do I do another one when I hadn't planned on elaborating on the first one? So then I found a way of twisting it. So the second book, so the second book is a similar setting but different. Yeah, that's all I'm going to say.
Okay, okay.
Mm,
So you answer that problem. See, um, I've learned this now. I've learned this now just from my own experience.
mm-hmm.
Always plan a sequel, or at least a place you can go for a
Oh,
sequel.
really? Okay.
Yeah, because you never know. Like here's the thing, right? You look at so the worst nightmare for a writer sometimes is to have a hit with something they have nowhere else to go.
Oh,
Right?
sure. Yeah.
That's the worst nightmare. I mentioned this in other podcast, like Orson Scott Card, whatever you think of him as a person. Fact of the matter is, how many Ender books has he done? And he's
Right.
doing them because he gets paid an awful lot of money to do those
Yeah.
books, right?
Yeah.
But there comes a point, right? Really,
Mm-hmm.
and I've said this in the like when you get like Ender's Game and Speaker of the Dead is Ender's story. You really don't need to read anything else.
Yeah.
But he's caught. He's made an incredibly successful series, and the
Right.
publisher's going, "We will give you money if you will do this."
Sure.
And that's kind of the thing, right?
Yeah.
So um, that's kind of how it's happened. That's kind of what happens. Now I learned a lesson. I learned a very valuable lesson. Every book I have now.
Right.
Some books I may not want to go back to ever tell another story.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
That's entirely a choice thing.
Yeah.
But I could, and that's really the point. Is I could, right? Hey, Shed,
Mm-hmm.
how you doing? Right? Um, but that's the thing, right? that's the drive and that's the goal. Is you have to recognize the fact that any one of your books, you never know when that one hit will happen. And if it
Sure.
does,
Yeah.
you better come out have a plan B and C, because the publisher, like the publishing world or the movie world, say, hey, you know what? We need more of this book.
Yeah.
But it's
No.
one and done, and it was brilliant. How the
Yeah.
hell am I going to top this?
Yeah.
Right. So it's just something I've learned in the back of my mind. Like every book series I have,
Mm-hmm.
there's room to go in other places.
Okay.
Even the series I finished, there's other spots for me to go. I'm
Right.
not necessarily going to go there ever, but in my head, I know deep down that this can go here,
Yeah. Yeah.
and if I really, really want to. That doesn't mean necessarily I even use the same characters or the same settings. It's just this is where the story naturally goes. So let's just
Sure.
it's in
Yeah.
my head. It's a thought, and I lock it. Sometimes I go like this. Okay, I got the thought. I'm gonna shut the door, lock it in key. It's completely gone. I know it's there. If I need to call on it, I'll do it.
Sure.
If I don't, now eventually I am going to run out of ideas.
Yeah.
And at that point, it's like at that point I charge more money, because if I'm going to sync up the joint completely, I want to get my payday and then get out the door as fast as I can. And I
Of
think
course.
that might be a terrible way to think about this, but that's my way of thinking about this.
Yeah.
I hit that point.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, I just enjoy writing the stories, and people say, you'd be rich and famous. I said, well, you could be rich and famous, but for me, my stories are my legacy. They will carry on after me. So that's my main objective. I don't want to be, you know, okay, if you want to be Stephen King or J.K., fine, go for it. But if you think of how many millions of books are put out every year, the chance is slim.